All right. So, welcome. I am your host. My name is Cisbro. I go by Cisbro. Here on the Real Foreign Guru channel, I'm going to be going deeper into what Alusil and what you're. I'm basically going to tell you what you're going to be really doing. What you're really going to be doing is removing material as little as possible. That's literally the consistency of the whole process. It doesn't matter if you're in step one, step two, step three, or four. There are four steps. There are two different situations here where you have to use the diamond honing stones, where you have to take away as little as possible, little as a material as possible, like 0.001, most 0.005, because there's no real need to remove that much, depending on your measurements. Now, if you are completely out of taper, I will suggest you getting a torque plate. I do. Even though they conventionally don't do that, when it comes to the factory, probably most of the people that have shops there in Germany, they don't, because from the factory they don't use torque plates. Now, if you're doing racing, you might want to use one. I'm not sure of the difference. I'm not. Don't ask me about racing, performance. I'm not that far yet. I'm going to get up on that once this puppy gets up, because that will be my next build. So so go ahead, subscribe for that future. Here is this article I have in front of you that was originally posted by Wildman. Okay, but it was reposted by Corey Z Grease Monkey. Um, where can we find this original post? The original posted. Let's see. Basically, he summed it up. Oh, over here on Pelican Forums. Gotcha. So you already know when it comes to forums. Oh, this is the shortest forum. This is where it's at. So someone replied to him, really, I always thought that the idea behind stoning, mean honing, was to put some scratches in the cylinder walls. Maybe I'm too old school. Okay, that's actually in this post. Maybe I'm too old school. But I was always taught, this is bigger. I was always taught that the rings will never see properly in cylinders of a well-worn engine if it is not honed out. Can't say that I have ever needed to hone the cylinders of a Porsche engine though. And when it comes to the Alusil and this etching process, you have to keep an open mind that Alusil is not only just for your car. Porsche, Audi, Volvo, uh, BMW, Mercedes. Did I say Mercedes already? Uh, Anything that has this type of material, or um, anything that has this type of material. Basically, if the block is IU seal cylinders, whatever the fuck. Maybe you are saying that because the cylinder walls are aluminum, but I am confused by the fact that they are siliconized. How can you put silicone where there's aluminum, right? That's basically what he's asking. I was told that the silicon makes it harder than steel, so making them harder to scratch. And he's like, "Stay on topic, please." So Honda Dust R, Red Line Racer replied. Oh, he's quoting. Hold on. Yeah, he replied. He said, "For old cast iron cylinders, this is exactly the point. As long as you are running standard rings, the fine honing lines serve to retain oil in the cylinders. Other types of rings, such as Malloy IIRC, require a much finer finish. Never, ever, ever use stones on IUSeal. You can't use conventional stones on Alusil. You have to use diamond seals. I'm sorry. Fuck. Diamond stones. Diamond cutting stones. You do. Make sure in the description, if you ever buy any stones, it's saying diamond or it's in the item description specifying diamonds. It's very, very important. Very important. Alusil, unlike Nicosil, is a homogeneous casting. This is very important and it's misunderstood. Nicosil is a very thin coating. The entire block of these motors is Alusil alloy. You'll notice how much quicker razor blades dull out on them when scraping gaskets off. Silicon is dissolved in the molten aluminum to a concentration that is greater than the soluble of silicon in solid aluminum. Once the block is cast, it is carefully cooled to cause some of the silicon to crystallize out on a microscopic level, mountain peaks out of the aluminum, leaving a very even distribution of very small silicone crystals suspended in the aluminum. It's in the aluminum, like as this picture has right here. It's in the aluminum. But there's also copper and magnesium in there. In the aluminum, it pokes out like this. I have a better picture. Hold on. Like here. Like here. Um, I'm trying not to waste your time, okay? I'm trying not to waste your time, but this is necessary. Silicon, Si particle, aluminum, okay? The honed surface is the rounded. This is what is that a gnat? The fuck? It is. Ew. Get out of here before I get the lights off. This is the aluminum. The gray part right here is aluminum. All the silicon particles, as you notice, there's a difference between when it's inside the aluminum and outside of the poking outside of the aluminum. It becomes rounded once the pistons break in. I mean, the piston rings break in. You know, it smooths it out. Or you 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 do the pasting process just to keep words more relatable, because I could say etching and some things are harder to catch on because of certain words that people are using. So in American terms, in American terms, in American terms, if you while you're doing the last process of the step, you can keep going and going and going and going and going. All it's gonna do is eventually like dull it out, round it out, and then when the rings get in, they don't have to do much breaking. They don't breaking in. They don't. So they're gonna stick out. Essentially, they're still sticking out of the aluminum, protruding out. That's why they say it's this complicated process that you have to make sure that the silicon particles are protruding out of the aluminum. It's not that fucking hard. You have to remove the material in order for that to happen. You do not have to remove any material. You don't. You have. That's why you have to remove as little as material as much as possible. Because look, that's not much at all. That's why they use a certain type of stone, because you will achieve it doing this. Oh, they have a different seal type technology. Still the same thing though. Locus seal. Let's see what he has to say. If not familiar with the difference between Alusil and local seal, engine blocks like a Kanye, a V8 and a 9A1 or MA1 engine are cast, cast through and through with Alusil, whereas Locusil engine blocks are cast using a process where the hyper aluminum alloy is located just around the cylinder. What? When explaining the differences, we consider Locusil to be localized Alusil. However, both function the same. relying on exposed. Yeah, I was about to say there's no difference as you keep going. There's no difference. Exposed silicon particles to support the formation of an oil film during the operation in lieu of your cylinder bore plating like Nicosil. Yeah, that's where they say it's if it's shiny it's Nicosil. But in reality, when you put the silicone paste back on, it's going to become a matte finish, signifying that that's its signature matte finish. Alusil and Locusil is the same thing. So back to this. Um, Silicon is dissolved in the molten aluminum to a concentration is greater than soluble silicon in a solid aluminum. That right there, I just explained to you. That's the whole purpose of this. If you skip through the video, bad man, bad girl. Once the block is cast, it's carefully cooled and the silicon crystal suspended in the aluminum. A little bit of a copper and magnesium are present. This is where they show that. The reason honing stones are so bad, and meaning by honing stones conventionally, uh, the, if you go into a nearby store, it is locally 220. Don't do it. Don't fucking do it. If you do, hey, uh, bruh, if you do, be careful. This is your shit. I'm not telling you what to do 100% with your shit because it varies by situation, okay? But that's the reason why they said that. The honing stones are so bad and they lack the mechanical integrity and hardiness to cleanly shear the silicone particles like diamond stones can do. Okay, maybe I should read more. But he's basically saying what I said, and I said it in a simpler way. Diamond stones are the best ones that can do this. So instead, tearing whole chunks of silicone out of the surface like you would with conventional stones, a properly honed cylinder retains the distribution of silicone crystals at the surface. Once the cylinders are honed, the aluminum is lapped away from between the silicone crystals with an AN30 silicone paste. Do I have mine out? Let me show a picture. I have mine, but I'm not trying to. No, I ain't trying to look for it. Not. I'm gonna show this video. Just not now. Hold on. Yeah, that's a different video. So we're gonna put those together. Boom. Let's go back on Instagram. Please. Here it is. You're gonna get this from Goodson. Yes, it went up. The last time I checked this was at $70, actually $80. So in total I paid 118. So save up for 150, wherever the case may be. Alloy blocks such as Porsche, Mercedes, Honda. Yeah, see, I'm annoying when it comes to this shit. It's so complicated. But what happened to Honda, huh? Just get a Honda. Yeah, you go ahead and get a Honda then. Cause you're gonna learn about this too. Silicon compound honing, AN30. This is what you're gonna use. It's often referenced as a paste, but it's not. It's not. It's just not. Let's clear this up. I need to be organized. Okay. You're gonna need the silicone paste. Okay. The AN30 paste is not. Oh, hold on. I'm skipping important details. A properly honed retains once it's honed, lapped away, cast iron surface. The AN30 paste is hard enough to affect the silicone. And so what you end up with is a surface that is very durable, that also has microscopic spaces to retain oil. This is also why the lapping process is relative relative hold on. This is why the process is related. I I can't say the word. Related rotatility. Fuck is relatively self-limiting. A freshly prepared Alusil cylinder has nice sharp edges on the silicone crystals, which give the surface a very fine micro rough feeling, such as like a chalkboard. It's like a matte type finish. This initial roughness is absolutely crucial in breaking in new rings. Once the cylinders are in run, the particles smooth out a bit and transition to the very smooth, shiny surface you see with good used cylinders. The spaces between the silicone crystals also fill up with ring and oil material over time. This slippery, durable surface is great for low friction, long lasting engines, but will not effectively break in new rings, especially if the cylinder's geometry is not perfect, such as high mileage motors, meaning more wear needed on areas of the piston rings to attach. I'm sorry, piston rings to attain a complete seal. What the Scotch Brite does is disrupt the surface just enough to clean out the inner crystal deposits, remove the old worn crystals, basically the ones that are completely flat, doesn't have the rounded out edge. It's not protruding out anymore. It's not. So we need that protrusion. We need that out. We need that to go out, not be flat. That's basically what it is. That's basically what he's saying the Scotch Brite does. It removes those flat, worn crystals and expose new ones without removing much material and without tearing out crystals from the surface. In moderation, it leaves a very favorable surface to lap with AN30 in order to produce much the same rough surface as regularly honed cylinders. This basically without having to go through the stones. This seems to be very effective technique for cylinders that still have a very good geometry. This is for people, the process he's explaining right now is for the ones who have a fairly new engine, not as worn as a high mileage engine. It's not, like it's not too much going on. There's no scores. You didn't have as much. Actually, no, I was going to lie. It doesn't matter if you had a lot of oil consumption. But what really matters is the condition of the cylinder. If it's out of round, if it has a lot of taper, that matters. Then you'll need some stones to even it out, fix it. Because if it's tapered, like basically, essentially, to this degree, it doesn't matter. If it's tapered, mm-mm, you're not going to seal properly, and you're going to get oil consumption, especially at the top. That's really where it all goes. That's really what happens, and then you're going to get a bunch of blow by. So this process is effective with the Scotch Brite if you have good geometry in your cylinders, which Alusil is pretty good at retaining due to its inherent durability. Scotch Brite honing will not correct any bad cylinder geometry. So, like scoring, you know. So measuring is highly recommended with a dial bore gauge. It is also important to use green Scotch Brite pads. Red pads are too coarse. I don't like the red pads. They're fucking messy. And blue no scratch pads. That kind of defeats the purpose because we're supposed to be scratching everything. So use the green Scotch Brite pads. The fine ones, not the coarse ones, the heavy duty ones. Don't or the industrial ones. Just get a regular one that doesn't say, oh, extra this, that Scotch Brite. Okay, make sure it's green. I believe the rings are much more of a wear item compared to the cylinders in an Alusil motor versus a cast iron ring in cylinder configuration. I've seen several people have good used 944 cylinders. He is referencing uh, Porsche engines, so a 944 is in Porsche. It may be in the Honda community as well, but this is definitely a Porsche form. 944 cylinders measure up very well after 150K miles. Again, used cylinders, especially on high mileage motors, so that means like 200,000 plus, 250,000 plus, simply lack the surface favorable for break-in wear on new rings. Think of it like trying to sand with a worn-out sandpaper, basically. Yeah. Uh, you may get enough break-in to not smoke, but how will your leak down test come out compared to a fully seated ring? You know, the risk is not worth the trouble of quick and dirty re-ringing, in my honest opinion. And it's not. It's not. It's not at all. So do it right, either DIY or professionally, or leave it alone. I believe my other secret ingredient is in Dev's rings. Dev rings is, where is he at? He's here in Las Vegas. Now you can get some good rings here. Clark County. He's definitely in the heart of Clark County. Um, you can get them from Pelican Parts, obviously. Here's a on the Simba.com. There's a piston ring experience. Dev rings installation. Use a piston ring expander. Okay. Oh, hold on. 92 millimeter. Hold on. Is that for me? I got an M62. 404 block. 4.4 block. 3 oil set of 4. So for a set of 4, I get 96, 95. 96, 95. Okay. How's that about too? So for $140, they say free shipping over $100. You get a 30-day price guarantee and 90 days returns. So they don't give you a warranty. I don't think a warranty will be much. Because what's $140? That's a pair of Nikes. Let's be real. That's just a pair of shoes. Okay. These are Dev rings. They have something. Another website was explaining that they have an edge. Tiny, and they have very tips of peaks that are thin and mangled at a microscopic level. And and I'm gonna be honest, meet them where they at. If this is a microscopic level situation, I see why he went with them with Dev rings. Okay. Dev rings, they are a special non-chrome Swedish cast iron alloy that seems to break in easily without being too aggressive to the cylinders, but initially in the long term. So if it's not aggressive on the cylinders, it's not aggressive. That means those silicon peaks are going to last longer. This may also increase the odds in your favor of fully breaking into less that perfectly round cylinders. That's basically what I said. That's what he's trying to say. How that translates as far as longevity compared to OEM rings remain to be seen. My OEM rings went out at 200 30, I want to say 2027 miles. But I also had another problem going on. So in reality, I don't even need to change my rings. I probably don't. But per situation, it's best to just go ahead and get that, because when I got them, they were stuck. So my rings probably never expired, but it was about time to go. That's when I had to break it down. It was just, and I also had an oil separator valve issue. That was the main, yeah, that was the main issue with my car. So it depends on if you have multiple things going on with your car, you might as well break this whole down and do this research. Okay. Like the video. Okay. If you like it so far. So, but after 19K miles, I still have gobs of power, and oil consumption went to absolutely zero after switching to zero W30. Hold the fuck on. how thin is that oil? How fucking thin is that oil? Let's read the rest of that while AI give me a brief. This may also increase the odds in your favor. So the oil consumption went to absolutely zero. So he's using thin, very, very, very thin oil. He said after switching to zero W30 cast iron synthetic European formula, true grade, true group 5, whatever the fuck, go 6 as winter oil. Where he at? Yeah, where he at? Where the fuck he live at? Where y'all mama stay? Well, there's my take on Alusil from what I learned from my rebuild and all the research I did when trying to determine how I was going to re-ring my motor. And how you going to re-ring your motor is important. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, we're going to talk about that.